Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Atish sir. Right now we have 68 joined. We'll wait for a few more minutes and then we start, sir.
Yes, madam. We shall wait for a couple of minutes, then we shall start.
Yeah, sure.
Right, madam. Okay. Good morning, all. Right. Okay. See, like around 75 students are there. We can start, I believe. Okay. Once the students come, let them join. Okay. I welcome you all for today's session on current job market. The event has been organized in association with Skilling India. Okay, and I just and this session, Mr. Abhishek Chatterjee will be the speaker of the day. Okay, let me introduce him. It would be a great pleasure for me to introduce him. Okay, Mr. Abhishek Chatterjee, an alumni of XLRI Jamshedpur, he brings a wealth and experience in fintech and edutech sectors. Having grown from an analyst role to a senior manager in a span of 4 years, in this time, he has been closely associated with the talent acquisition, both as a specialist and as a manager leading a large team. In his previous organization, he helped to build an internal recruitment tool that is now being marketed externally to prospective clients. He has authored multiple articles in XLRI Club magazine and was the content head at the HR club in his senior years there. Okay, I hope we can begin the session. Okay, I welcome Mr. Abhishek to take over the session and we can start the session, I believe. Thank you. Thank you all.
Just thank you, Yajishwar, for such a nice introduction. And just okay, so a lot of people here today. Hope everyone is doing well this morning, Tuesday morning, right now, what we are in. Okay, so guys, welcome to the session. Today I'll be running you through what the current job market scenario is, what are the different platforms you can use, what are the different jobs in demand right now, and then I'll open it up for a more explorative discussion between us in what you guys are looking at and what you guys want going forward. So without further ado, let me share my presentation. Hmm. Okay. So today what we'll be exploring is we'll be looking at the current job market. Where do you stand as a student, as a potential employee going forward? We'll be going through different platforms, as I mentioned, different job roles. There's a lot of things going on. So in that regard, we'll be doing a explorative discussion, and obviously you guys feel free to ask whenever you want after I end this like presentation, and we'll try to throw some light on your particular thoughts and your particular queries as well. So first of all, like why me? As Yatishar very kindly introduced me and explained what I do. So let me go a little further. So I've been in recruitment for over 4 years now, growing from a lot of like different roles, whether it be a sourcer, whether it be a interviewer, whether it be screening specialist. There's a lot of roles I've gone through as I've gone from an analyst, which is basically someone who just looks at the data and does a lot of ops work, to a senior manager role where they have a team and they're looking after different functions, looking after like 300, 400 recruitments every year. I've been in financial technology and education technology, two of the biggest sectors right now in the market. Everyone knows about Byju's, everyone knows about like Paytm, like those things are like very, very important right now. And financial technology and education technology are the things, are the industries going forward that you guys will most likely be exploring. I've been part of non-tech and tech hiring both. So I've looked at people who are specializing in development, bugging, and also people who are specializing in things like what I do, like HR, finance, marketing, so on. And obviously, I'm from one of the premier South Asian like best business schools that are there, which is XLI. So The first thing you need to understand whenever you look at the job market is how to gauge it in a very proper way. So as a recruiter, what do I do when I want to look at how the job market's health is right now? The biggest place I look at is I explore the major hiring platforms, and this is something you guys should become very familiar with over your time, because especially if you're looking to change job or you're looking for your first job outside of campus, these sites will become your bread and butter in this regard. So LinkedIn is one of the biggest. LinkedIn is one of the most wonderful and unique platforms you can say, because it's both a social media site and it's a hiring site as well for us recruiters. So we can get your resumes, your profiles within seconds. So this is one thing I would suggest you guys, and I took a course on this the other day only, how to build a good LinkedIn profile. Whenever you're going into the professional world, this is something you should always first look at, that I need to have a LinkedIn profile. Even I would say, even if you don't have a social, like even if you don't have Facebook, Instagram, whatever you might not have, but you have to have LinkedIn if you want to grow in your professional network. So you can see why, right? There are over like 2,61,000 jobs right now on LinkedIn that are available and looking at you guys as candidates. Then there's Naukri, which is basically the biggest one that is there right now, which has almost 4 lakh jobs. So Naukri in its core essence is a complete job site. So there you just like go, you search through the jobs, you find one what is good for you, and it's the largest job site in India right now. So it's also very important for you to look at Naukri whenever you're looking for a new job. And the final one, and obviously this is for a little more junior roles like yourselves, a little more niche, a little more obscure sometimes. Indeed is also a very big like platform, and it has around 1.3 lakh jobs. And the biggest like good thing about Indeed is it doesn't really correspond with what Naukri and LinkedIn are looking at. So if you have these three as a bouquet, these three places where to continuously go to find jobs, you will get 90% of the jobs right now in the market. So this is my task to you guys today and in the days coming up after this session. Build a LinkedIn profile. If you want help, there's a session on that. Make sure you explore on Naukri and Indeed what are the types of jobs that are there in the market. Because obviously Naukri is one of the largest job sites in the market, I felt we should explore Naukri a little more in depth to understand how the job market is right now. Especially because even if it's work from home right now, you need to know what the location is, because there's a lot of factors that play into location. So I'll tell you how it plays into my role as an HR. So obviously, if I'm business partnering for a company in the South region, I'm being a human resource business partner for a company in the South region. I must have some familiarity with the local languages, whether it be Kannada, Telugu, like Tamil, whichever language it is. I need to be familiar with that location's language. So that plays a very key role in what you're exploring as well. The most number of jobs right now in the market in terms of location, in terms of where the company is established, is in Bangalore, which seems like a very decent guess, I guess, because Bangalore has been one of the most booming industries, booming like cities in terms of more and more job opportunities going forward. So out of that almost 4 lakh jobs, almost 1 lakh jobs are in Bangalore itself. After that, we have Delhi with around 7,000. We have Mumbai with around 46,000. We have Hyderabad with around 43,000. And finally, we have Chennai with around 36,000. The others, as you can see, this is covering like almost like 3 lakhs of the 4 lakhs. So the others are spread between like Kolkata and other metros as well. But you can see that the highest right now is in Bangalore, Delhi, and then after a little bit of a drop is Mumbai, Hyderabad, and Chennai. So these are the places where the companies are hiring the most right now. Now, this is very interesting for you guys. Just because I said 4 lakh jobs are available in the market does not mean that 4 lakh jobs are available for everyone in the market. It's an important distinction that even I had to learn when I started out, that the job market opportunity as a whole is not an opportunity for you. Your specialization, your experience, your degree, your location, a lot of things play a very crucial factor. That's why I looked at location first. The second thing I look at is experience. especially since most of you are freshers who will be going out into the market, especially when it comes to relevant experience. Almost every one of you will be a fresher. So out of the 4 lakh jobs, 43,000 is for those people who are completely new in the market, new in terms of experience. So this is where you need to understand in terms of competition. In terms of competition, you need to understand that out of 4 lakh jobs that everyone is going to be fighting about, everyone is going to be trying to get, for most of you, this 43 is where your battleground is. So you can see in the pie chart only that out of the entire big slice, the blue portion is where you guys will be battling with the others in the market. You guys will be trying to get that coveted 43,000 spots that are coming up. But again, it's 43,000 and it's a fighting number that you can look at going forward into the market. So like when we look at like what employers want, especially from freshers, it's very important to look at what results have come in from the employers who have been surveyed in different locations. So when the Manpower Group Employment Outlook Survey was done for the second quarter of 2021, so basically it was done for like what would be your hiring in uh, April, May, June, like what would be your hiring for July, August, September going forward? And that happens when you look at what is the plan in April only. So when this group interviewed around like 2,500 employers, they were asked a very particular question, like how do you anticipate like the people you have on board in your company at your location, how does it change when we reach like this month, suppose June 2021, compared to what was there at the last quarter? So which is April, May, June is your current quarter, January, February, March was the first quarter. Okay, so that means at the end of March the scenario, at the end of June what will be the scenario, how will things change in terms of how many people you have in your organization? There's a lot of good news, that's what I want to tell you guys. Most of the employers mentioned that like there would be an increase, or at least if not an increase, there would not be a decrease. So you can see that like 12% of people, of employers, said that they're looking for more people to join in above and beyond how many they have. So if they have 100 now, they're looking at 120, 130, 140. 2% said that there might be a little bit of a decrease, and 53% said that they would keep everything at the same level. So 100 employees are right now there, 100 employees will be there tomorrow. But there's a trick to this. Remember, the 100 employees who are right now there, not all of them will be there in 3 months. Some of them might only be leaving, some of them might be going on to new opportunities, new roles, and thus there would be new hiring requirements coming in. So that means what is the net outlook? 10% of employers are looking for new people to join in, and that's a lot of like positions that are opening up in the market. As you saw, there are 4 lakh job opportunities, yes, 40,000 for you guys that are there in the market. So that is coming from this 10% net employment outlook, which is 12 minus 2, 10%. So let's explore these companies a little more and let's try to figure out where the best opportunities lie for you guys. So obviously like people are like forecasting that like for no matter how much the size is, whether it's a small company, it's a medium sized company, it's a large company, all three are telling that they would be hiring new people. The best are for companies that are very large, which has like 5,000 employees and so on, and they're looking at 10%. Then for medium, which is more towards like 500, 1,000 employees at max, they're looking at 8%. And then small size, which is like 200, 250, which is 6%. How does this actually look good for you guys? Remember, as the size of the company grows, that means there are more number of positions that will come up. So for large employers to have the most net employment outlook is actually very good news for you guys, because that means a lot of positions will be coming up compared to what would happen with small size employers. If this was opposite and small size were higher, I would say it's much more skeptical, because they might think they have 25 employees, they'll grow to 28. But for large employers, it would be they are currently at 6,000, they're looking at 600, 6,500. So that's how it's very positive right now going in. So after coming to like the size of the company, let's look at the sector. So Keep that in mind now. Large company is best, medium is okay, small is low. So in that way, things are already very positive in nature. In sectors, and this is where I told you guys education technology is booming right now. Education sector and public administration, which is government, that's where the most net employment outlook is currently standing at 10%. Then after that is more services, which is more IT services. And then we have look at finance, insurance, real estate, manufacturing, transportation, utilities. But the main place is, as I told you guys, is with the Baijus, the Unacademies, our self-skilling India in the world. And that's where we're looking at in terms of like hiring more and more people. Even we are currently like onboarding more and more people right now. We've grown multifold. We've grown by almost 200 to 300% of our size in the last year, just this year through our hiring practices. So in that regard, you can see why education sector is listed at the top. Then towards a little more of a problematic news, obviously mining and construction have very modest hiring pace because obviously you know the situation right now, and mining and construction requires a lot of physical activities. So in that regard, when it comes to physical activities, people might not be exactly looking to hire more and more people. Again, in wholesale and retail trade also there are certain physical activities that you would be doing, and you can see how the pandemic has actually affected these sectors the most compared with the other sectors which are much more into e-services right now. Again, now obviously you guys have a preference for locations, and hopefully the pandemic, when it ends soon, you guys will be going to those locations. So then we look at in terms of locations where the most hiring is there. We got one clue earlier when we looked at the Naukri breakup, which was Bangalore was at the top, Mumbai was at the second. So you would hazard a guess then South would be at the top, then would be West, and so on. All of them are looking to increase the payrolls, whether it be South, North, East, or West. All of four regions are looking to increase their employees that are coming up. The strongest is in the West, which is interesting because you saw Mumbai at around like 77. You need to remember Pune is also a very strong number that was not shown because it was a little lower, but Pune and Maharashtra in general and even Gujarat, these places are looking to hire a lot and lot more people going forward. Then obviously we look at Delhi, which is not forecast, and then we have South and East respectively. So why does South like stand out a little low even to Bangalore was the highest? And I'll give you the rationale for that. While Bangalore and Chennai are very much in the hiring motivation and everything, you need to remember something that in the north, in Delhi was a very strong candidate as well in the list. Delhi, Punjab, Haryana, these places are constantly looking at new and new employees. And if you're looking at Bangalore in particular as a one place where hiring is, I'll tell you something, out of the 7%, 6% comes from Bangalore itself. The 1% is from Chennai, and then most of the other places are not really looking to hire. And then from east side, obviously, when it comes to West Bengal, Odisha, the hiring tendencies are not that good right now. So then what are the places you should look at? Again, it's going to be probably Mumbai, followed by Delhi, followed by Bangalore. These are the places you should be looking at for new and new jobs that are coming up in the market. And especially you should be looking at Mumbai, Pune region as a whole because that's the best place right now when it comes to total number of jobs, total number of growth in employment that is coming up. So when I talk about like those 43,000 jobs, how do you differentiate? Because there's a lot of people who would be graduating this year. There will be people in lakhs who are graduating this year. How do you become a good competition to them? How do you make sure you have the edge? So there are four factors that normally people look at when it comes to knowledge. Okay. The first part is what you know that you need to know. So you know that you want this job, and for this you need to have this degree, you need to have this knowledge, you need to know this like rules, regulations, processes, and so on. And you're very comfortable and you know all that. You do know. For example, I'm in HR. Right now, engineering might not be something that is very relevant to me. So I might not know Jones law right now or how I can apply that to different processes. or I might not need to know certain laws, certain rules in physics, chemistry right now, because that's not relevant to me. So I know that I don't need to know like equations, chemical equations at this moment in my current job. Now this is the biggest problem area, and this is where a lot of students struggle, a lot of employees struggle, actually I would say, not just students. Even when you get into a job, sometimes you struggle in realizing what is there that you don't know that you need to know. For example, in the 4+ years I've been in recruitment, when I started recruitment, did I know what exactly recruitment would need from me? Not really. I had to grow and learn. I had to find out through trial and error. I made a lot of mistakes and I learned from them. And that's the one problem area that is with every student, with every employee, with every person as you grow through life. Sometimes you learn things that you should have learned before at a very later date, and that's basically through trial and error, through mistakes you're doing, and all that. And the final part is like what you don't know that you don't need to know, so that's fine. In that regard, ignorance is bliss. What the main place is, where the yellow marking is, what you don't know that you need to know. That's where the differentiation happens between you and someone else who knows a little more than you, but you don't know that you need to know that thing. For example, when it comes to, suppose I'm handling payroll right now, I don't know what payroll is all about. If tomorrow a candidate comes in who knows all about payroll, they're much better suited than me. Even though they haven't worked here at all, they're much more suited than me to handle payroll and all that stuff when it comes to the actual function. So that's where the competitive edge comes in for you guys, and that's what I mean by knowledge is power. Coming from the employer side, I wanted to go into the student side a little more. You guys, about like how you guys feel about like what knowledge is there, what currently is there about career paths. And there was a survey done by India Skills Report last year, where around 3 lakh students across 3,500 education institutions were surveyed, were asked different questions, and some of the like results have been a little shocking, I would say, but very expected, I guess. In terms of gaps in information, like out of every 5 students, 3 of them thought that they don't really like, there's a lot of information, but they don't really know how this information will help them decide what their career should be. And out of every 5, at least one of them said that there's too much of information in the world right now. If you look at Google, it will give you 3 lakh, 20 lakh, 25 lakh results. If you search for any job, if you search for any role, and it's very hard as a student to know exactly what you want to search. Again, coming back to the previous point, which was what you don't know that you need to know. How can you give something in the search bar if you don't even know that you need to search it, right? So that's basically a problem that comes into a lot of students who are going into a career right now, that there's too much information but they don't know what is right for them. This survey also looked at employers as well. And again, so last year and also this year, people are looking at more and more employees to be hired, and a lot of them would be freshers. So out of every 100 new hires that will be there in the market, 15 would be like for freshers. 15 out of every 100 new hirings. So again, as you can see from the earlier like one I said, like it was 3,87,000 and around 43,000 were for freshers. So it's something around 10 to 15% of the overall workforce will be freshers going in. So that's a very competitive market. 85% of the jobs are already not available for freshers right now. So 15%, 10 to 15%, that is a very key battle area that you guys will be on. So then what do you not know that you need to know? That's the biggest question that is for you guys. So what are people looking at? Employers are looking at 5 key areas for any like fresher or any candidate to come into from the market. One is they should be very positive and optimistic in nature. Second is they need to be adaptable, they need to be flexible, they need to be able to take up tasks at short notice and learn quickly. And that's what learning agility is all about. You need to learn quickly on the job, you need to be able to go into new roles, new ideas, new functions. You need to be very good at your domain, and some of that you are learning a lot in your college right now, in your business schools and so on. And that's what the domain expertise is all about. You need to know your subject very well. And finally, interpersonal skills. You need to be able to communicate. You need to be able to talk, listen. You need to be able to collaborate with people. So these are 5 areas in which employers are saying we need people who are good at this. So the skilling market, the market in general keeps on changing. Just because 3.87 lakh jobs are there in the market right now, does not mean the 3.87 lakhs jobs will be in the market 5 years later. A lot of new jobs will be coming up. A lot of old jobs in the nature of the job itself will be going out. And that's the biggest problem for any student, any employee right now, that they need to keep upskilling themselves. They need to reskill themselves, right skill themselves. There's a lot of skilling that needs to be happen, and you need to keep adapting as you grow in any organization or any industry. And the biggest problem is most people are not prepared for what will happen in 5 years. They are thinking about the now right now. They are not thinking that in 2 years my role might become obsolete. So one of the biggest challenges, as I am keeping on mentioning, is that they need to find what is missing right now. They need to be prepared for how the market will change in the next few years as well. Because 2025 is not far away. We are just 4 years away now. Just like that, 2022 will come, and then suddenly in 2025 you realize that you have not evolved, you have not changed. And that's very important, that you need to know how to prepare for 5 years later, when out of every two jobs, one of them will be changed, one of them will need to be updated. So again, that's the biggest problem, right? That people don't know that there are a lot of career options that they're right now not understanding. So when students were asked in your age group or a little younger than you, they were asked like this question, they're like, what are the career options that are there? And out of 100 students, 93 only looked at 7 career options that are there. Even true, in the market and in that like survey only, there were 250 career options looking at over 40 domains, over 5,000 jobs types. So you're not aware of the roles that are there in the market right now. Like, and that's the same with me as well. When I was studying in business school, I was aware of very limited roles in the market for an HR. It is only after coming in, after doing recruitment, after having lived through a lot of experience in these 4 or 5 years, that I've understood that there are much more than this. There's much more opportunity for me if I'm willing to learn those roles as well, if I'm willing to understand those roles. So now I'll give you an idea from my perspective what I feel you guys need whenever you apply for jobs, whenever you're looking for different roles. The first thing is you should know your industry. If you're coming into the education technology industry, you should know what the education technology industry's history is and where that company that you're applying to stands. What would be your role? Remember, an engineer's role in a services company versus an engineer's role in a product company is very different in nature because of what they're doing as a solution. What are solution architects? How does an HR, for example, differentiate between a manufacturing sector or a manufacturing industry and an IT industry? How does your role change? And you should be very aware of this, knowing your role in this industry, knowing your role in this industry. This is a basic guideline like people look at, especially when it comes to like hiring someone. They want to see how much you care about it, basically how much you care about this job, that you've researched everything, you've known everything. This is what I'll be doing on a daily basis. This is where the industry is right now. This is where it's going. This is how I can help it grow. The second part, communication, guys, is very, very important because I'll tell you something. As you go into management roles in your career, as you grow towards becoming a CEO, a CHRO, a CXO level person, you need to be, if there's one thing that you need to become very good at, is how to talk, how to communicate your ideas, how to discuss with people, how to argue, how to make it constructive. It should be one to one, and also public speaking, it should be one to many. You should become very, very adept at how to talk with people, how to listen to people. The third thing is obviously, and this is a very, very generic thing I know, but it's something that people don't understand, that they need to work on it. You should try to find out what is your strengths and how you can best use them in the roles that you're looking at. how to improve your strengths in those roles that you're looking at. For example, communication is one thing. If you're weak at communication, if you're poor at communication, there might be certain roles that are not there in the market for you right now. So you need to become better at it. You need to minimize that weakness that is coming up in communication for you. So that's how things can work out in terms of like how you can improve your strengths and you can minimize your weaknesses. And this is the biggest crux ever. Remember, you have been hired because there is an issue that is there in the company. There is something that you need to solve for the organization. If I've been hired to solve people practices. I've been hired to make sure people practices are efficient, better, much more well placed, so that more and more people join, and the people who join are productive to the organization. So one of the crucial elements, one of the pillars for you, and that's something that becomes very important, is you need to become better at solving problems. And this is a more topical thing, how to be effective virtually. Right now, what are we doing? For example, if this was much more normal times, I would be coming down to the institute and giving this discussion, giving this workshop in person. But I need to have that same level of attention, same level of explanation, ability to explain, ability to focus, ability to engage you guys. Sitting away, so far away from you guys right now, I need to have the same ability right now. So that's one more thing we are looking at when we try to hire someone, and I'm sure all the recruiters look at right now how you can be an effective person when sitting remote. Because if that doesn't happen, then it doesn't make sense to hire you at this point of time. Because if you're very like oriented towards having your boss in the next cabin or in the next cubicle or in the next room only, that's not something that is possible right now. So you need to become effective virtually. And that's the main thing. One cruel lesson I've learned in life in terms of industry is, in my first presentation I ever gave in my summer internship, I put a lot of frameworks, a lot of fancy terms, a lot of things that I've learned in my first year. People didn't understand anything. My mentor, my reporting manager at that time told to me, Abhishek, the first thing you should learn is you should be able to tell people what is common sense, because most people don't have that, because most people do not have the knowledge that you have. It's good that you have knowledge, but if you can't apply common sense to it, if you can't explain it like explaining it to a baby, as people say, it becomes very hard. So you need to be better than what your textbooks are. You can't keep just mentioning the textbooks and everything and not being able to understand how to explain them properly. So explaining properly, knowing how theory plays out into practice, that is very important. You need to focus as you go on in life. Your theory knowledge will become much more based, will become something you might not be using on an everyday basis as you grow in the organization. Your common sense, your ability to be practical, your ability to know what to do in a situation, which are the things I mentioned earlier, those will actually make sure you grow in the organization, grow in the industry, grow in your career. So that's basically something I was wondering. Now let me ask you guys a question, and I want you guys in the chat to answer it. Do you feel you can go into the manufacturing sector tomorrow? Suppose an Asian Paints, suppose a Tata Steel, with a good idea about what you will be doing there? Do you feel that is the case? If tomorrow Tata Steel came to hire from your line schedule, do you know exactly what you will be doing at Tata Steel? What role you should be applying for? Okay, I've gotten a no. Anyone else? So one person has mentioned like no to me, and I'm glad like because I'll be very truthful. When I started my business school, I did not know where what I would be doing if I got hired at Tata Steel. Anyone else? If it's yes, you can write yes. Not a problem. Don't worry. There is no judgment here. Yes or no, both are fine. Okay. I've gotten another no. Okay, I'll just wait and see if one more person or few more people say. Guys, wake up. It's Tuesday. It's not the end of the week yet. It's fine. Only two people have replied to me, and I'm very glad they're there. Okay. Three. Yes. Good. Good. Getting a lot of replies now. One yes, and one, two, three, four, five. Five no's so far. Okay. Look, if your confidence is very good, I would like commend you a lot for that. That means you have actually researched a lot. Okay, okay. The replies are coming in and I'm seeing a trend now. So, okay. So I'll tell you something. If you asked me this question when I was in my first year, I would have said the same thing. I am not sure what an HR does at Tata Steel. Now I know because a friend of mine works here and I talk with him a lot, and I found, and that's where the main crux is, na? That I have a friend in Tata Steel who I talk with, who's working in HR, and so I understand what an HR does in Tata Steel. So you need people to tell you sometimes because they have experience. If tomorrow I brought that guy from Tata Steel to here for a guest lecture, you guys would get an idea if you wanted to go to as an HR or an engineer, because that's one of the best things an HR does. They know what people do in their industry. I am very conversant about like what are the types of people we are looking for in education technology right now. I understand the different roles, product managers, product leads, curriculum developers. There's a lot of people that are there, and I understand what they do. As an HR, you're ideally placed for this as a recruiter, and that's why we are having this discussion today. So it's very important, guys, that you have people who can tell you their experiences, who can give you an idea about what a person does in the industry or the role you're looking for. And I appreciate being honest, guys. I'm also glad that one person said yes, chemists, they have been researching, they know a little bit about the organization, they know a little bit about the industry. And I want all of these no's to become yes after like a few days, okay? After a few months and so on. I want you guys to make sure you can say yes to this. Coming back to the presentation, the main thing is you need to understand is there are few roles that are very in demand in the market, which is full stack, artificial intelligence, data scientist, digital marketing. Some of you might say, how is this applicable to us? Well, like some of the thing is you need to understand that like what are the skills that people look for, okay, in these roles. Once you understand the skills that people are looking for, you might be able to map some of the things to this. For example, a lot of you might be right now looking at marketing as a job, so digital marketers would be something that you're looking at. You might be very good at data and analytics, and you might be going for data scientist roles. You might be going for AI as well. Like I'll tell you something, AI is prevalent everywhere now. Even in human resources, AI is becoming very important. How to design chatbots, how to make sure people go through a smooth process without human interaction. Those are things that are very much required right now because obviously in the virtual ecosystem, those things become much more prevalent. Those things become much more required. How you can interact with people without really interacting. So obviously, like I would say, then there are few places you can go to find this kind of like understandings. Some of them are mentioned on this like slide in front of you. We have Skilling India, which is our organization, and we have flagship programs like YSD, which I'll talk about a little later. And in the market, generally, when you're looking for the skills you need, ideally, it's not the easiest way to figure out those skills just by reading up on them. You need someone to explain those things. And that's why Coursera, Unacademy, Udemy, Skill India, these places have these things, these places have instructors who have been there and done that, who have gone through this journey that you are about to embark on, or been part of this journey some way or the other. So always keep taking courses online that are relevant to your future career. This is one more advice I'm giving. So what are the like advice pages I've given, guys? One is LinkedIn profile is essential. You need to build it after this conversation if you don't have it. Keep it updated. Second, remember, job sites are there in the market and you need to explore them. You need to go to Naukri, Indeed, LinkedIn, check out what are the jobs that are relevant to your future. And finally, to make sure the cherry on top is there. Whatever skills you don't have that you're seeing are required for the jobs you want, how do you bridge that gap, which is called a training gap? Easy. You do training. And for that training, you go to these courses, you try to understand. You want to get into analytics but don't know how. There are courses from each of these platforms on analytics. Wonderful courses delivered by wonderful specialists and individuals who know what they're doing, who know what the practical side of life is in terms of jobs, in terms of the corporate world. So that's how you bridge the gap between yourself and what people are expecting from you. And that's how you step forward compared to the 200, 300 other students who will not take this step. Like at our place, what have we tried to do is, so we've tried to make sure we have a program called Your Skill Dose, which is basically for all individuals who are looking to grow their career, looking to build themselves up, and find out where the gaps are in their knowledge. For example, as I mentioned, like we are looking at like guest speakers, get lecturers for different like platforms for corporate. For example, I know a friend in HR in Tata Steel who can give you a good idea about the manufacturing sector. I have a friend in another sector in consulting who can tell you what the consulting world is all about. I have myself who can give you an idea about financial technology and education technology and how you can fit into those industries. So those are the programs you will get under Your Skill Post. So the links and everything will be shared by my team in the chat window and you can check them out. You can check out the different programs that are there. There's a lot of wonderful things. So with that, I bring the discussion to a close and I open this for the Q&A. So okay, Ananya says that like I will opt for the accounts and finance department Indian. So like one thing is like you need to understand something. So Ananya, like one thing is like sometimes they ask like are you comfortable in this kind of things? Are you comfortable in this kind of industry? For example, in manufacturing, the complexity will be very different when it comes to budgets, when it comes to accounts, compared to an e-commerce organization. So, do you know what are the things that are there in the manufacturing in particular, in their different budget sheets, in their different allocations, in their different balance sheets that are not there in e-commerce? Those might be brought up in the interview and then it becomes difficult for you to tell what is happening, how it differs, how new things are there. So that's why I'm saying that, remember, while in general terms specializations and functions are very much generalized, I would say, like as I mentioned, finance, as you are mentioning as well, finance is there in IT, finance is there in e-commerce, finance is there in manufacturing. But all three have different nuances that are to them. And obviously, I wouldn't be the best person to say it, but suppose a finance head who has worked in something like that, who has worked across industries, came in and gave you a session, that would help you understand very well the different nuances. And if you tell that to an interviewer, I can guarantee you'll score a lot of good brownie points and you will actually be in a much more favorable position for the job offer. If you can tell exactly what in manufacturing, there's a difference in finance compared to what is there in e-commerce and how you can be the better person for that. So you need to know those little things that are there and those little things will actually give you the edge. Okay, guys, anyone else has any questions? By the way, thanks so much, like whoever, like, so I have a lot of names here who have replied to me for the question I asked, plus like Ananya who mentioned the accounts and finance, and thanks, that was a good prompt for me to mention how nuances are there even in specializations and functions. So thanks everyone who has messaged so far. Thanks everyone for participating. Let's get some more people.
Okay,
Any
any
other questions?
questions, students? Sorry.
No, it's fine. We'll ask the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
Guys, wake up. It's Tuesday. It's not Friday yet.
Hmm.
You guys will have your
Yes,
lunch on
please.
time. Don't worry.
Please ask your
So,
question.
so today's audience are all on final year, right? Final year
Yeah.
students. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So
Hmm.
this is the best time to know and ask any questions to Abhishek because after this you will be out of college life. Uh,
And you would be coming up to my desk only, maybe or the later.
so you
At that time, I will ask questions. You will not get your chance.
so like questions like what are the necessary uh, you know pointers that needs to be on the resume. If you want to ask, you could go ahead and ask the certification courses that are needed to make your job, to get a job easier. I think I'm sure Abhishek will answer that because
Huh,
as of
so,
today's current scenario, because keeping the pandemic in mind, the challenges, the extra bit that you get that gets into your resume plays an important factor. You just have your course. If you just mention that you've done your degree or a PG or a UG in your resume, and you should take it to somebody like Abhishek, he will ask you, what is that extra that is there in your resume? So when there is a question there, you need to have an answer. This is where people like Skilling India and the colleges will try to help you in fulfilling those needs.
as Prashan is saying, like, look, the fact is, you have 40,000 jobs for freshers right now in the market around, and some of those jobs are with us as well. And if I'm looking at like 3 lakh, 4 lakh, 5 lakh candidates, it becomes very much like I need to filter out things very quickly. I need to see what is on the resume very quickly. Certain things that help a lot in that regard. Coming to nursing,
Question.
for just give me a second. Whoever is asking, Padma, you're asking a question?
Me, Savasha.
Okay, Varsha. I saw two people unmuted. Okay. Varsha, just give me 1 second. I'll just answer this. Okay. So Narsim Raju is asking like for getting a job in MNC company, PG is required. No, like, so I'll tell you something like again, the roles in an MNC company, okay, it's very hard for me to answer MNC company in a very general term. So look, when I talk about MNC companies, it's almost always large companies, okay, which is 8,000, 2,000 to 20,000, 30,000 employees. A lot of people there are just graduates. Some of them are even like 10 plus 2. But obviously, a PG helps you move towards a more specialized role, a more managerial role. That helps you go. But in general, unless you're doing a MBA role, like a master's in business, I would say the other regards, if you're going for MTech or BTech or something, in general it's fine, like both of those you can get a lot of for btech, because a lot of people start their careers after doing btech, ba, bba and so on. So I would say if you're in your bachelor's and everything, you'll still have a lot of opportunities in the market. What I normally suggest for most people is you complete your bachelor's, you will get 2 solid years of work experience in the company, then you go for your masters, whether that be an MBA or your own specialization. For example, if you do, for example, I did a BTech, I worked for 2 years, then I went for an MBA, and now I've been working again. So it's very important before you go into your masters sometimes that you get some work experience in. But I don't feel like there's too much of a challenge that you have to be a postgrad to get a job. That's not the case in MNCs and in general in any organization. A lot of the employees in our organization are bachelor's graduates only, so that's not a big issue. Yes, Varsha, you were asking.
Sir, while getting inside MNC companies, sir, what
Mhm.
are the knowledge required for getting inside a MNC company for an employee, sir?
What are the?
Knowledge, sir, to getting a recruitment in MNC.
Okay. So, like, okay. Again, as I say, I'm specialized. I'm generalizing a lot. So, Varsha, like, what are you looking to do after your like education? Like, what role are you looking for?
Sir, some any higher positions, this one, sir, like
Higher position is fine, but higher position in what? In which department? In which role? Any idea about that?
no, sir, I want to like an HR position in a company,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. So you're looking for an HR position in the company. Okay, then like I can give you much more clarity in that regard. Okay. So if you are going for an HR role, one of the basic things right now that will give you an edge is how good you are in Excel and managing data. One point is very, very important, and I'll tell you something. I find so many people who are not good at that, and for that reason, people get rejected. Are you good at handling data and working on Excel? One point. Second, you need to become good at talking with people. Okay, you need to become a good and effective communicator. You need to understand nuances of how a person's voice changes when they're talking, whether they're being nervous. So you need to understand the person's mentality a lot when you are in HR. Because if you're interviewing people, if you're just talking with people in general, you should be able to help them, like guide them in a way towards the correct place that they need to go. As an HR, you need to become a guide. So, Varsha, the two main things I would say for any role in general, but like for HR in particular, I would say is very important, especially if you want to join my team. Suppose you need to become good at communication, both in listening and in speaking. You need to be good at data and Excel. These are the two main things I would say is very, very essential for you. Now, coming to more specialized things like whether you go for talent acquisition or employee engagement, I will give you more separate things that you should be better at. For example, in talent acquisition, I would say you need to understand job platforms, how to screen people, and so on. In employee engagement, you need to know the different practices in employee engagement, what are the best things that different companies are doing. So, those are the skills that will come up, and realize something. The last two things I mentioned are something you cannot learn in school, in college. Those things are more experiential in nature. You need to go out and explore and find out those things. But as a pillar, I would say if you're good at data and you're good at communication, you are already better than 90% of the people who are applying for any job.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, Yatisha, you wanted to mention something?
Yes. I just wanted to tell that all are all from finance background.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, some few of them have cleared their CA foundations. They want, like, most of them, not all, most of them will be wanted to take up a job in a financial sector.
okay, so like
Yeah,
most
yeah.
people would be going for chartered accountancy.
Not
Uh,
only chartered accountancy, not exactly with the chartered accountancy. They wants to take up in some of the organization as an accounts executive or a finance executive.
like or an actuary auditor, those roles will
R-
also be there.
Right, 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 right.
And
Yeah,
like most of them, I guess, would be looking for the big four then, I guess.
yeah. Yes, yes.
Like if I can get into EY, if I can get into PwC, these companies, the
Yes,
auditing companies.
yes,
So,
yes,
so
yes.
actually we have a session like next week on Big Four only. So
Okay,
that's
okay,
a very interesting thing that you guys could join if you wanted to join that.
okay. All
we,
right,
we
Uh,
will
right,
we will
right.
share the link. And so again,
Yeah,
for all the students, it is not only about getting into a MNC or a company. Even if they want to start their own firm, what is very important here is to upskill themselves. Now, as Abhishek was mentioning, basics which are very important in not only getting into a company but also in starting a firm is Excel, the latest tally, right, and data, latest analytics that they need to be aware of. So, along with the regular courses they attend in the college, at the same time they upskill themselves of handling all these, add-on programs, right? It will help them much. It will help them to find it themselves much easier to handle certain things which come in their way. Now, for example, if you want to get into a EY or a Big Four, these are all the basic questions that the interviewer is going to ask. Even though you've done your CA foundation exam, you've done your CA marks, basic questions they will ask. Do you know to handle Excel sheet? Do you know to handle a mass analytics? Do you know to work on a tally latest things? Basically, these are all the things which plays a very important role, not only to become an employee but also to own a company. So yes, uh, this is the right time before, these are all the experience that students should be aware of before they walk out of college, because they will save that 1 year of time. Now, if they walk out of college and that these experiences are not there, they will again spend one year in getting trained, in finishing those programs, and making sure that our resumes are updated with certifications. So they have to be very good in multitasking, wherein they cover the regular courses. At the same time, they also take up these courses where their profile is also getting upgraded. So this is where it actually helps students.
Okay. I'll just reply Prashant to the questions that just came up. Nagaraj. So Nagaraj. Okay. So as I mentioned, it's difficult for everyone to get a job. There are a lot of people in the market right now. Even though I didn't mention like 4,40,000, you need to remember if there are 3 lakh 4 lakh students graduating, there's already like over like 80 crore, like 80 lakh people who are currently in the market working. So the ratio keeps on like being the same only. So it's not always a like case of supply and demand and everything. Everyone is having going to be having difficulties in getting new jobs. As I mentioned, what best a fresher can do, what best you can do to get a competitive advantage is what I mentioned. Understand your weaknesses, minimize them, grow your strengths, understand what the industry you're looking for, understand the role, try to find out different like e-learning courses like on Coursera or Skilling India, where you can actually upskill yourself. You can find out what is here. For example, a lot of people will be going to organizations that use Tally a lot. A lot of companies will be asking you for different like certain things that will be required if you're joining as an actuary, as a financial like analyst. There's a lot of things that will be coming up, and you need to know what are the things that are there. And how do you do the easiest thing? Easy. You search for jobs of financial analyst. You find out like either UI, PwC, Deloitte, someone will be having an opening in place. You look at what the responsibilities are, what they're asking you to have, must haves. That like people will like that you should be proficient in this software. Awesome. You learn that software. Before you pass out, you learn that software. So that when you actually come in, you can just write on your resume, I know Tableau, I know Power BI. And that makes you such a better candidate. So this is a hack, I'll tell you guys. And this is what I've used to get a new job in my previous years. You look at a role, you find out what you don't have in that role, what you can't do in that role, and you find ways in which you can make sure you are able to do that, whether it be through a, like uh, so crash course in Coursera or a skill in India learning, whether it's about talking with people and trying to figure out what their experience is. Those are the things you need to be proactive. If you're waiting till the job again comes in the market, at that time there are 20 other people who have been more proactive than you. So you need to be very proactive in upskilling yourself, in learning more about what you're trying to search. And this is one hack I can give you: search for those jobs, which roles you're really looking for, and find out what they're asking as an organization from you. Those things are normally very easily like shown on the job site only. Narsim Haraju is asking any difference between campus requirements and other requirements. Okay, so this is this is a question that is a bit like sensitive in nature because this is a problem that plagues a lot of people. Uh, so in terms of one thing I'll mention is the salaries in the open markets are much more lower for a fresher than if you pass out from a campus. Because I'll tell you something, campus, your faculty who are helping you with place, the student bodies that are there, they have a lot of standards that they keep to. Like they will say you cannot offer less than this to our students, and companies will say yes. But once you go to an open market, it's much more like there will be freshers who might not have gotten a job last year who are still searching, and those problems will be there. It's much more open, it's much more difficult to get a job. I would suggest, if possible, always go for your campus placement. But if you're very confident and you can battle it out in the open market, do look at that. But as I mentioned, either way, if you want to battle it out, if you want to get that coveted positions, whether on campus or outside, you need to realize what people are looking for. If you don't go with what people are looking for, you will never be able to. You cannot sit content in your house or your flat or your dorm one day, okay, good, like this company is coming, I'll interview, everything will go well. No, that's the wrong thing, and I've learned that through painful experience as well from my side. You need to understand what the company wants from you. That's the first thing. What does the company want from me? If I don't have it, how can I get it? That's how you should think about anything. Sunil is asking, as a commerce student, is it easy to learn Python? So, okay, look, first of all, learning any programming language in general is a difficult endeavor. And I would say, as a commerce student, yes, you would have a bigger learning curve and a more challenge that is going to be there for you as compared to someone who's much more in engineering or someone who's already a computer science student. For you, the challenge is in terms of becoming comfortable with the language, becoming comfortable with the platform. So it's not easy to learn Python, but there are a lot of wonderful Python courses in the market right now, and most of them don't ask you to learn anything. You start from scratch alongside everyone. So whether it takes 3 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, if you go for those courses, when you come out, you will have adapted to Python a lot well, because you're being taught by someone who knows Python in and out and who knows how to make sure you know about it. So my suggestion is, nothing is easy to learn, especially when it's something out of your comfort zone. For example, if I told you tomorrow to prepare for an exam which is related to commerce, it's much more easier for you guys because you know the basics. But if tomorrow I told you to prepare for a physics exam, you need to learn it. Nah, it will not be easy for you. So it's not easy to learn, but Python is very, very necessary sometimes, especially if you go into data and analytics. Like, people will ask you, but I would suggest, besides Python, also you learn the platforms itself, which is Power BI, Tableau, and you learn how to manipulate data better. My suggestion is for that.
And
If
yes,
somebody,
Python programming, especially for degree students, it is absolutely doable,
hmm.
and it will definitely, you will also you will also become very, very competitive, just like the engineering students. So yes, if you somehow concentrate, focus hard, finish that Python programming, absolutely good, absolutely good. You will also have a lot of value.
Like, know something as well. When you're coming from a different background to engineering and you're trying to learn an engineering program or an engineering software, the additional value you bring is, you bring a diverse outlook. A lot of companies might think that, like, okay, look, an engineering student has learned Python in school, college, and is going to do Python right now. But when you're going to learn Python, you're going to learn how to use Python in your work. That's a very important distinction, and people don't realize it. Learning something to get good marks versus learning something to do well in your work are two different learnings. And that's where people struggle a lot. So as a commerce student, if you're coming in very fresh and you're learning a new programming language, you're learning a new software for the purpose of work, your learning is much more attuned to what will happen in the workplace versus someone in technology, because they have learned how to do it in a very perfunctory, in a very processed manner to get good marks. Sometimes most people have not learned how to do it in work. So that's the benefit you guys have. And as Prashant has mentioned, you guys are coming in fresh and you're learning it for work. That's a very important thing. Whenever you learn something for work, that has more value than if you learn something just for the sake of studies. And that's something I would suggest for people who are studying as well to look at. Like, if they're looking at like a certain learning or a theory at their, like, in their classrooms, they should look at how it's getting applied to a workspace as well. They should explore news, they should explore different companies and so on, and see how it's becoming applicable. Balu Prashan mentions, like, normally what type of work companies may offer for freshers and how much salary we can expect. Okay. So basically, normally, like, people who are coming in very new, they're expected to be very good at data. It's very interesting and it's something I agree with as well. You cannot expect a fresher to become very comfortable with interactions, with managing people, with doing a lot of collaborations very quickly. You need to, like, make sure they grow into that. And when it comes to, like, data management, that's much more something is comfortable for a student to go into when they're transitioning to a workplace, because they have been working on data even in their graduation, post graduation, and so on. So most people who come in are told market research, learn this very well, and it's something that will be there across, whether you be from finance, whether you be from HR, whether you be from marketing. Market research, you need to become very good at market research. You need to become very good at learning more and more about what the market is, what our competitors are doing, what are the best practices, which is basically the good things that different companies are doing and what we can look to adopt. So market research is one of the first things any fresher gets in any organization. Data management, comparisons, competitive analysis, these are things freshers get. In terms of salary, okay, so if I told in the market and not on campus, the range is very broad. Okay, because I'll tell you something. One of the most difficulties any recruiter faces when they're hiring you from zero to something is very much something that's internal to a company. So depending on the company, depending on the role you're going for, it can be anything from like 2 lakhs to 15, 20 lakhs. It's very hard to tell exactly how much salary you should expect without getting very clear idea about where you're coming from, what you're good at. But again, the sky's the limit in that regard because you will not be judged on any previous salaries. So you can get anything from the lowest to the highest. I would prefer if you guys aim for the higher side. So 20, 30 lakhs I've seen freshers get as well. If you bring something very good to the table, a recruiter will be willing to pay, a company will be willing to pay. As I mentioned, if you're very good at market research, if you're very good at AI, data science, and like digital marketing, I know digital marketing students who have joined companies at like 15, 20 lakhs without any experience. Even for like CAs, actuaries, auditors, you can expect like something very good as well. Especially if you're a CA, you can really expect like something good if you get the CA done. Okay. Okay, so Ananya is asking as a recruiter, for the initial filter, would I look at whether that person is good at communication or whether that person is looking at whether that person is good at academic performance. So, okay. So when I'm doing filtering, when I'm doing recruitment for any position, especially for a fresher position, how I do things is obviously I do not go for academic performance. Academic performance is a decent indicator, but it doesn't really tell me much. Besides that, you might have been very good or you might have been very good at memorizing things. Both things I've seen in my like 5 years of working in recruitment. So my thing that I want to get more about is I'll tell you how I do the filtering is one, when I share the questionnaire, when my team shares a questionnaire that everyone needs to fill up, I see how much dedication you guys have given, how much thought. If I say why do you want to work for Skill India, I don't want to like see like I want a job, sir, or education technology is very good, sir. I don't like those things. I want to see that you've actually gone through the Skilling India website, you've actually gone through what Skilling India does, and you've tried to map yourself to that. Always map yourself to the mission or vision of any company that you're going for. This I'm telling you guys as a warning, as something I've done as a mistake in my life as well. Before you apply to any organization, you need to know what that organization does. You need to try to find out where you fit in the organization properly. You need to go through the job description, you need to go through the company overview, the company profile, and then you need to reply to any mail, any questionnaire that comes in, because that is where I will remove you first. If I see answers that are very half-hearted in nature, where I can't understand whether you like the company or not, no matter if you are like getting 90% in class, I don't care about that. That shows that you're not really interested for the position. You're just applying for the sake of applying. That's the first place you will be removed. So you need to communicate your ideas better, because after that is the phone call sometimes. After that, look, good communication is an essential thing. It's not something I look at when it comes to like whether or not this person will go for the role. If I come to that, I look at how much passion this person is about HR, how much knowledgeable this person is about the organization. These are the two questions. So why do you want to work in human resources is one question I might ask. Why do you want to work for Skill India? And depending on how you give these two answers will be make or break for me if I want to process you for any future rounds. So it's basically you need to be passionate about your function. You need to be knowledgeable about the company you're applying to. These are two very basic things I would say whenever I apply to any company, actually I make a separate like PowerPoint presentation for myself of like 10-12 pages, look at what the company does, what the company is into, and how I fit it. At least that I do. Like I've done a lot of like I've done over 50 plus presentations for myself on that. So I hope that answers your question, Nikhil. Anyone else has any questions?
Yeah, thanks, Avi. Yatish sir, if no more questions, over to you. So yes, we
Yes.
will try to help
Okay.
help your students as much as possible. We will take it forward through your
Definitely.
guidance. And
Definitely.
we have a lot of programs, including right from Python to digital marketing, communication skill. You know it very well. You have the details.
Yes.
So we will plan
Yes.
it.
Yes. Okay. I hope no more questions from the students. Just a moment. One question came. Sir, any specialized course for share market?
So we have a course under your skill dose, which is basics of stock market, how to understand like how to invest and all those courses are there. So that's what Skilling India has or offer. We have people who are very like financial like gurus who have been in the finance sectors for like 20 plus years. So like those courses are there. Basics of stock market would be something I think you would be looking at nursing, and advanced stock market understanding. Those things will be there from your skill dose side. Beyond that, outside I'll need to look at because share market is a very interesting like place. Like generally if you're going for becoming a broker or you're going for a much more specialized role, those things are explorable, but we need to look at it in a little more depth. But there are a lot of courses in the market right now, including we have. If
And
you
sir,
want, like, if you want, Narsi, yeah, you can message me on like my mail ID that I'll be sending. I'll try to reply to you there. Okay, I'll just share my mail ID for everyone. So if you have any questions, just send me. I'll give you a very clear answer there only when I have time. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
and sir, I have sent the attendance in the feedback link so that
Okay.
students can, when everybody have attended today can fill it.
Definitely. I'll ensure that the students will
Participation
be
survey.
doing that.
Yeah.
Definitely, I'll do that. Okay. Thank you, Abhishek, and thank you, Prashant, and thank you for all the team who has made this event a grand success. I thank each and everyone who participated in this event and got the benefit. Thank you, one and all. We shall. I think we can end this session, I believe.
Thank you, Yatish. Thank you everyone for attending.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I'll just be online for 5 minutes so that whoever is
Yeah.
not filled a link, they can take it.
Okay. I'll do one thing. We have a personal group.
Okay.
I'll share the attendance link over there, and the students will definitely going to fill it, and I'll help them out doing that.
Sure, sir. Then,
Yeah.
then we can log out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.